Leo Thorne, 32, was the peculiar outlier in a family built on steel and glass. The Thorne name in Chicago was synonymous with towering skyscrapers and classical architectural masterpieces, thanks to his father, Arthur, a stern, calculating patriarch who measured success in grand blueprints and prominent commissions. His mother, Beatrice, was the quintessential society hostess, trading career ambitions for prestigious charity galas, ensuring the Thorne legacy glittered in every social register. His older sister, Clara, 36, was the golden child, already a senior partner at Thorne & Family, designing the city's next iconic landmark. From an early age, Leo was different. While Clara sketched cathedrals, he was experimenting with sustainable materials and modular designs, building intricate models of self-sufficient homes from recycled components. "That's glorified carpentry, Leo," his father once scoffed, dismissing his passion. "Real architects build legacies, not glorified sheds." His mother worried about his unconventional choices, fretting over how such a career would ever find a suitable partner. He defied their expectations, earning a degree in sustainable systems engineering. His first job, a modest position at a green housing startup in a renovated warehouse in the unglamorous South Side, was a constant target for their veiled disdain. "Still playing with your eco-friendly dollhouses, Leo?" Clara would quip. For years, Leo endured their comments, silently observing and planning. He learned that innovation could disrupt hierarchies and that true value wasn't always measured in traditional currency. 2 years ago, working late in his tiny apartment, the idea for terraform living struck him. He envisioned a platform that used AI to design and 3D print affordable, sustainable, off-grid modular homes, optimized for various climates and resources. It would revolutionize accessible, eco-conscious housing. He poured every penny of his savings into a prototype and business plan. Initial investors, accustomed to traditional architecture, were skeptical. "Construction is complicated," one told him condescendingly. He pitched to 30 potential investors before finding one who saw the vision, Isabella Rossi, a retired tech executive turned impact investor. She provided $50,000 in seed funding, allowing him to quit his job and hire a small, dedicated team, including Maya Sharma, his fiercely efficient administrative assistant who quickly became his de facto COO. Their first office was a cramped corner of a co-working space, powered by determination. The breakthrough came 8 months in when a major nonprofit housing organization in Nevada piloted Terraform Living's designs for a community rebuild project. Housing completion times decreased by 60%, material waste by 75%, and resident satisfaction soared. They had data, real, impressive numbers that spoke louder than any dismissive family joke. More cities signed on. Revenues began flowing. They moved to a proper office in the burgeoning tech district. Series of funding brought in $3 million, allowing them to scale nationally, followed a year later by Series B, $0 million at a $50 million valuation. Through it all, Leo told his family nothing, driving his old sedan to family gatherings while his new electric truck sat in the garage. This secrecy was self-protection. He couldn't bear their dismissal of the project he was pouring his soul into. The night of the annual Thorne family dinner, Terraform Living was on the cusp of its initial public offering. Citadel Capital, a prominent investment firm, was leading the IPO, with early valuations around $80 million. Leo had managed to keep the recent Forbes profile of him as Housing Innovator of the Year from his family's attention. Maya knew not to call unless it was truly urgent. He walked into the opulent Thorne estate, ready for the familiar performance of being the family disappointment. Dinner began, a formal ritual of accomplishments. Clara detailed her latest skyscraper commission and her upcoming appointment to the city's planning board. His mother beamed, asking leading questions to highlight her achievements. Then, all eyes turned to Leo. "And what about you, Leo?" his father asked, his tone suggesting little expectation. "Still at your little carpentry job?" "Actually," Leo began carefully, "the modular housing platform I've been working on is doing quite well. We've expanded to several states." "That's nice, Dear, his mother interrupted, clearly uninterested. Arthur, tell everyone about the new downtown office space you're acquiring. Just like that, he was dismissed again. As the main course was cleared, his father cleared his throat, the Thorn signal for a major announcement. Your mother and I have been doing some estate planning, he began, swirling his brandy. With Clara's career advancement, it seemed appropriate to revisit the family's financial arrangements. The Thorn legacy demands certain choices. Leo felt a familiar knot in his stomach. Clara will be taking over as the trustee of the family's main investment portfolio next year, he announced proudly. And following her latest triumph, we'll be gifting her the historical downtown property to expand Thorn and family. It's the logical choice. His father turned to Leo, his expression shifting from pride to something clinical. Which brings us to you, Leo. We've supported your unconventional choices for some time, but we've come to a decision. His mother set down her wine glass with deliberate precision. We're cutting you off completely, she announced, as if commenting on the weather. Effective immediately. The words hung in the air. Though he hadn't relied on family money since college, the finality and public delivery felt like a slap. The annual allowance, any future inheritance considerations, access to the family properties, all of it, his father elaborated, until you demonstrate more appropriate choices befitting a Thorn. Appropriate choices? Leo repeated, his voice surprisingly steady. You mean abandoning my career for something you approve of? You're wasting your potential at that little design job, Clara interjected. The family has a reputation to maintain. Your choices reflect on all of us. It's not a hobby, Leo said quietly. It's a company. My company. A company? Clara scoffed. Please. You work for a startup that will probably fold next year. This isn't a punishment, Leo, his father added. It's motivation. Sometimes people need to face consequences before they make better choices. So let me understand, Leo said slowly, you're cutting me off financially because my career doesn't impress you enough? We're reallocating family resources toward ventures with proven returns, his father replied. Clara has demonstrated sound judgment and proper ambition, while you, my mother added, have demonstrated neither. Just as Leo opened his mouth to respond, his phone began to vibrate in his jacket pocket. He ignored it, focusing on the conversation. The phone buzzed again, multiple calls in succession, Maya's emergency signal. Perhaps you should answer that, his Uncle Ben, a retired engineer and his only supportive family member, suggested quietly. It seems urgent. Leo hesitated, then pulled out his phone to see Maya's name 0. Excuse me, he said, stepping slightly back from the table. Maya, what's happening? Mr. Thorn, Maya's voice came through clearly, audible to everyone at the table. I've been trying to reach you. The Global Sustainability Fund just confirmed their Series C investment, $40 million. The valuation is official. We've hit $80 million pre-IPO. The silence at the table was absolute. That's incredible news, Leo managed, watching his family's expressions transform from dismissal to confusion. And the World Green Building Council wants you to give the keynote at their annual conference, Maya continued, oblivious to the drama. The CEO called personally. Thank you, Maya, Leo said, this is wonderful. Let's schedule a team meeting for tomorrow morning. He ended the call and slowly returned to his seat. The silence stretched uncomfortably until Uncle Ben began to laugh, a genuine, delighted sound. Well, he said, raising his glass, I believe congratulations are in order. 5 frozen faces stared at Leo. His mother recovered first. Leo darling, she said, her voice honeyed in a way it never had been. What wonderful news. Why didn't you tell us about your business success? His father's face had transformed from confusion to calculation. $80 million, he repeated slowly. In valuation for your Terraform Living. Yes, Leo confirmed. We're preparing for our initial public offering, led by Citadel Capital. Your firm, Dad, is also on their client list. Clara looked like she'd been slapped. You're working with Citadel. With which team? The ESG Impact team, Leo replied. They've been incredibly supportive. This is amazing, Leo. Clara jumped in with forced enthusiasm. I always knew you were clever with all that sustainable tech stuff. Did you? Leo asked mildly. That's not how I remember it. Kara, clearly we've had a misunderstanding about your professional situation, his father began, businessman mode fully engaged. Perhaps we should revisit our earlier discussion about cutting you off. About the family financial arrangements, Leo interjected bluntly. Obviously circumstances have changed, his father stated. Have they? Leo asked. My circumstances haven't changed in the last 5 minutes. I'm exactly the same person with exactly the same career that you were deeming unworthy of family support. Don't be difficult, dear, his mother interjected. Your father is trying to fix a simple misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding, Leo replied. You made yourselves perfectly clear. My choices don't align with Thorne family values. My career isn't prestigious enough. How much are you worth? Clara asked bluntly. Terraform Living is valued at $80 million pre-IPO. I own 55% of the company, Leo stated. A quick calculation silenced the table again. That's over $40 million, his father said carefully. On paper, currently. The IPO is expected to double that at minimum, Leo confirmed. His mother reached across the table to grasp his hand. Sweetheart, this is wonderful news. We need to celebrate properly. I'll call the club tomorrow. That won't be necessary, Leo interrupted gently, withdrawing his hand. For the family, he repeated. A moment ago, I wasn't Thorne enough to qualify for family resources. Now my achievement belongs to the family. Well, Clara interjected, startup valuations can be quite speculative. It was reasonable to be concerned about stability. Was it concern? Leo asked. Or judgment? This is so exciting, Leo. Clara changed tactics entirely. With your tech expertise and Thorne and family architectural reach, we could create amazing synergies. Dad, imagine the investment opportunities for the family fund. Stop, Leo said quietly but firmly. Just stop. I'm not looking for family investment, he stated clearly. Terraform Living has all the funding it needs. What about board positions, his father suggested. A Thorne presence would lend credibility. Our board is also complete, Leo interrupted. With members who have believed in the company from the beginning. His mother looked genuinely bewildered. But darling, now that we understand the situation, we want to support you properly. Now that you know I'm rich, Leo corrected her gently. That's different from support. That's not fair. Clara protested. We're family. Family supports each other's success. Does it? Leo asked. Where was that sentiment an hour ago? I appreciate the sudden interest in my career, Leo said, standing up. But I think I'll be leaving now. I have an early meeting tomorrow. You're leaving, his mother looked alarmed. But we haven't even had dessert. I have financial advisors, Leo said, picking up his jacket, and a PR team, and lawyers, and every other professional service I need. But we're your family, she insisted. Yes, you are, Leo said sadly. Which is why I kept coming to these dinners year after year, despite knowing exactly what to expect. Despite knowing that nothing I achieved would ever be enough. He turned to Uncle Ben. Would you like a ride home? As they headed toward the door, Leo's phone buzzed with another text, Maya confirming a major partnership deal in Europe. Clara called after him, Leo. We're hosting a gala next month for the city's architectural elite. It would be wonderful if you could attend and discuss sustainable housing. Leo paused at the door, taking in the scene one last time. The opulent dining room, the expensive art, and the family that had never truly seen him until he became valuable to them. "I'll check my schedule," he said politely. "But I should warn you, my speaking fee for private events starts at $40,000. With that, he and Uncle Ben walked out into the cool Chicago evening, leaving the Thorne family legacy to digest the fact that its greatest current success was the son they had just disowned. In the weeks that followed, Leo maintained his distance from family efforts to ingratiate themselves. His mother's calls went to voicemail. His father's lunch invitations received polite but firm declinations. Clara's transparent attempts to leverage his success for her firm were met with silence. The only family relationship he nurtured was with Uncle Ben. Terraform Living's IPO exceeded all projections, valuing the company at $80 million on the first day of trading. Leo's paper worth surpassed $90 million. He established the Thorne Innovation Foundation, a $5 million fund dedicated to supporting young innovators in sustainable technology. The name was deliberate, he was reclaiming the Thorne legacy on his own terms. When reporters asked if the foundation was named after his family, he would simply reply, "It's named after me." His relationship with his family evolved into something more measured and controlled. He attended Christmas at the family estate but limited his stay to hours and brought Maya as his buffer. His father eventually asked to tour Terraform Living's offices. "Very impressive operation," he commented afterward, clearly surprised. "Not at all what I imagined." "What did you imagine?" Leo asked. "Something smaller. Less significant," his father admitted. "You've proven me wrong. That doesn't happen often." "It wasn't about proving anyone wrong, Dad," Leo replied. "It was about building something that mattered." 1 year after the fateful family dinner, Leo hosted a different kind of gathering at his new loft. The guest list included the original Terraform Living team, mentors, and after consideration, his immediate family. As he looked around at the diverse group mingling, his chosen family alongside his biological one, he felt a sense of peace. When the time came for a toast, he raised his glass, his voice steady and clear. "To authentic success," he said, "not measured by bank accounts or social standing, but by the lives we touch and the problems we solve. To surrounding ourselves with people who believe in us before we're successful, not after. And to defining our own legacy, whatever our last name might be." That night, overlooking the Chicago skyline, Leo reflected. His family's rejection had been painful, but also formative. It had forced him to develop resilience, self-reliance, and conviction in his vision. Sometimes, the most powerful reply to "we're cutting you off completely" isn't an argument or a defense. It's building something so meaningful that it speaks for itself. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Hey, maybe even go crazy and smash that bell icon to be notified of new stories. Well, maybe not smash it, as that may damage your computer. Better just to click on it. You never know, one may even hit close to home. Thank you.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today we are diving deep into a source that gives us a fascinating look at family dynamics, the definition of success.
And what happens when those definitions don't just clash, but actively collide? It's quite a story.
It really is. We have a really insightful personal account here. It's the story of a young man, Leo. Comes from a prominent, very traditional family.
Right. And he chose a path wildly different from what was expected, faced some pretty intense dismissal for it.
Yeah, dismissal is putting it mildly.
And then went on to build something incredibly successful entirely on his own terms.
So our mission in this deep dive is to really explore the key moments in this powerful narrative. We want to understand that friction, between the traditional expectations and Leo's innovative vision.
Yeah, exactly. And see the powerful statement he made by building something meaningful despite all the doubters. Because this source isn't just telling us a story about money, about accumulating wealth. It's fundamentally about value, isn't it?
Absolutely.
About defining your own legacy and the incredible power of deciding for yourself what truly matters in life.
It really resonates. I think so many of us have felt that pressure,
Yeah.
to fit a mold, whether it's family or society. So, yeah, let's jump right into setting the scene.
Okay.
Our source starts in Chicago with the Thorne family. Their name is apparently synonymous with a very specific kind of architecture.
Yeah, the big stuff. Steel and glass skyscrapers, the kind that really define a traditional city skyline.
Right. And at the head is Arthur, the patriarch, described as stern, focused on these grand blueprints measuring success in sheer scale.
And his wife, Beatrice, is the classic society hostess, charity galas, maintaining social standing, that whole world.
And then there's the golden child, the older sister, Clara.
Ah, yes, Clara. She's already deeply embedded in the family business, totally set to take over the traditional architectural world. That's the established order, the paved road for a Thorne.
But Leo, the younger son,
Yeah,
he's different. The source says this was clear from an early age.
totally. While Clara's sketching classic buildings, he's captivated by sustainable materials, by modular designs, building models of small, self-sufficient homes.
It's a completely different vision of what building even means.
And the family's reaction is just immediate dismissal, almost visceral.
Yeah, how so?
His father calls his passion glorified carpentry, says things like real architects build legacies, not glorified sheds.
Oof, harsh.
And his mother worries about his unconventional choices, how he'll find a suitable partner with a career so outside their world.
And the sister.
Clara gets in on it too, jabs about his eco-friendly doll houses. It's just dismissal coming from every single angle.
It's like they couldn't even see the potential in what he was interested in, just how it deviated from their path.
Exactly. But he defies them. He goes and gets a degree in sustainable systems engineering, a totally different kind of building focus.
And takes a modest job, right, at a green housing startup.
Yep, on the south side.
Yeah.
And the source paints this job as a constant target for their veiled disdain. You can just picture those family dinners.
Oh, I bet. But what's really critical here, and the source highlights this, it's Leo's internal response.
Yes. He endures the comments, sure, but he's not just passively accepting them. He's observing, he's learning, he's planning.
Okay.
He's realizing that innovation could disrupt hierarchies, that new ways of doing things can actually change the rules of the game.
And that value isn't just measured in dollars or, building height.
Precisely. He learns that true value wasn't always measured in traditional currency. Their currency was prestige, scale, steel, glass. He started formulating his own definition of value. Quietly.
And that internal process, that quiet observation and planning, it eventually leads to the birth of his own idea, terraform living. Tell us about this concept.
It sounds pretty revolutionary, actually. The idea is using AI, artificial intelligence, to design homes quickly, efficiently,
Okay.
and then use 3D printing technology to actually construct affordable, sustainable, modular homes. They can even be off-grid.
Wow. So self-contained, eco-friendly houses built faster, less waste.
Exactly. The vision is huge. Revolutionizing accessible, eco-conscious housing.
That is definitely not a glorified shed.
Not even close.
But a vision like that needs more than just determination, right? The source details the tough initial challenges. He pours every dollar of his savings into a prototype.
Every cent. Builds the prototype, develops the business plan, and then comes the brutal part. Finding people who believe in it enough to invest.
The funding hurdle.
Big time.
Yeah.
He faces deep skepticism from traditional investors. The source quotes one basically telling him, condescendingly, construction is complicated, like he didn't get it. He pitches to 30 different potential investors.
30. Wow. Imagine hearing no 29 times. That persistence.
It really says something about his conviction, doesn't it? But finally, after all those closed doors, he finds his first true believer, Isabella Rossi.
Ah, the retired tech exec turned impact investor.
Exactly. Someone looking to put money into companies making a positive difference, not just profit. She sees the vision, provides that crucial first $50,000 in seed funding.
That first believer, that must have been huge.
Absolutely catalytic. That 50 grand allows him to finally quit his job, hire a small, dedicated team. The source highlights Maya Sharma.
She becomes the COO, right? Started as an admin.
Yeah, steps right up. Shows the power of finding people aligned with your mission, willing to grind alongside you.
And where do they start? Not in some swanky Thorne-style downtown office, I'm
Oh,
guessing.
me not. The source describes their humble beginnings. a cramped corner of a co-working space powered by determination.
A stark contrast to the family's world.
Completely, but that's where the real building begins.
Okay, so they've got the vision, the prototype, seed funding, a small team. How do they go from that cramped corner to something, well, undeniable?
The source pinpoints a breakthrough moment about 8 months in. They partner with a major nonprofit housing organization out in Nevada. A pilot project. Community rebuilding focus.
Okay, real-world application.
This is where Terraform Living stops being just an idea and becomes a real solution.
And this is where the data comes in, the kind of results you just can't ignore.
Exactly. The results are incredibly impressive. They speak directly to the problems Leo set out to solve.
Like what?
Housing completion times decreased by 60%.
60% faster. Wow.
Material waste, huge issue in traditional construction, dropped by 75%.
75%.
And maybe most importantly, resident satisfaction soared. These were, and I quote the source here, real impressive numbers that spoke louder than any dismissive family joke.
Those numbers are powerful. They validate the value in a way that's totally outside the Thorne family's usual metrics.
Absolutely. This data is the turning point. It proves the concept works and works well.
So things start snowballing.
Yep. More cities start signing on, revenue starts flowing in, they finally move into a proper office space. They secure a Series A funding round.
That's the first big investment once you've shown traction, usually.
Right. $3 million allows them to start thinking nationally. Then, a year later, a Series B round. And the source notes something interesting here. It was a $0 million round at a $50 million valuation.
Hang on, a $0 million round. What does that mean?
Sounds weird, right? It means investors didn't put new cash into the company right then, but based on the growth and prospects, they officially valued the company at $50 million.
Ah, okay. So it's a massive leap in perceived value, even without taking more investment money at that specific moment.
Exactly. The market's recognizing the scale of the opportunity. Huge validation.
Fascinating. So while all this incredible growth is happening, Leo is intentionally keeping his family completely out of the loop. The source mentions him driving his old sedan to family stuff.
Yeah, while his new electric truck stayed home, the source explicitly calls this secrecy self-protection.
Makes sense.
He'd endured their dismissal for so long, he just couldn't bear sharing something he poured his soul into, only for it to be minimized or scoffed at again. He was building something valuable, and he didn't need their approval to know it.
Which brings us, with quite a bit of narrative tension built up, to the fateful annual Thorne family dinner.
Oh yeah. The scene is set perfectly. The opulent Thorne estate, this almost ritualistic gathering designed to highlight family accomplishments, measured in their traditional way, of course.
And the timing is just almost unbelievable. Unbeknownst to his family, Terraform Living is on the absolute cusp of its IPO, going public.
Right. Early valuations are putting the company around $80 million. And somehow, Leo has even managed to keep a recent Forbes profile about him under wraps.
How do you even do that? Anyway, so the dinner proceeds. Claire's detailing her latest skyscraper commissions, board appointments.
Mom's prompting her, making sure every achievement is highlighted. It's a total performance of traditional Thorne success.
And then, predictably, the attention turns to Leo.
And the father asks that question. The one that just encapsulates everything they think about his path, dripping with condescension. Still at your little carpentry job.
Oh, man. After everything he's built, how does Leo respond?
He tries. Calmly. He says his modular housing platform is doing quite well, that they've expanded to several states. He's trying to translate his world into terms they might grasp. But his mother immediately cuts him off, calls it nice, dear, and smoothly pivots the conversation right back to Arthur's new downtown office space. Dismissed, exactly as he feared, exactly as he expected.
Right. Yeah. Heartbreaking, even though you know it's coming.
Yeah.
And then, main course cleared, Arthur makes the big announcement about the estate planning.
Right on cue. Clara, named heir to the main investment portfolio, gets the historical downtown property. It's not just money, it's the symbolic passing of the traditional Thorne legacy torch.
And then Arthur turns to Leo. The source says his expression changes. Cold. Clinical.
And his mother delivers the blow. With what the source describes as deliberate precision. We're cutting you off completely, she announces.
Wow.
Effective immediately. Allowance, future inheritance considerations, access to family properties, all of it. Gone.
Just completely cut off?
Yeah.
What's the father's reasoning? Or justification?
He frames it as motivation, seriously. Says Leo needs to face consequences for his unconventional choices.
Consequences for being different.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That he's wasting your potential, hasn't made appropriate choices, lacks proven returns, doesn't have sound judgment and proper ambition like Clara. It's crystal clear their definition of ambition and potential is tied solely to their world.
So disinherited, right there at the dinner table.
Yeah.
For not conforming to their narrow definition of success. How does he react in that moment?
He's steady. He asks for clarification, wants to make sure he heard right. You're cutting me off financially because my career doesn't impress you enough.
Good question.
He makes it clear it's not a hobby, it's a company. My company.
And Clara?
Just scoffs, doubles down on the dismissal, says he works for a startup that will probably fold next year.
The absolute blindness is staggering.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in that exact moment, the universe decides to intervene dramatically.
Oh, it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
Right then, his phone starts vibrating, multiple calls coming through. It's his COO, Maya, using their emergency signal.
Emergency signal, okay.
And his uncle Ben, the source, mentions he's the only supportive one there, quietly suggests you should probably answer it.
You could just feel the tension ratcheting up. He steps away from the table.
Answers the call from Maya, and because of the silence and the drama, her voice is audible to everyone still sitting there.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. What does she say?
She announces the Global Sustainability Fund just confirmed their Series C investment.
Series C. That's another major funding round.
A very major one. $40 million. And with that investment, the valuation is official. They've hit $80 million pre-IPO.
$80 million. The source says the silence at the table was absolute. You can just picture their faces, flipping from condescension to just utter confusion.
And as if that wasn't enough drama, Maya, totally unaware of the family meltdown she's just interrupted, continues with more good news.
There's more.
The World Green Building Council wants Leo to give the keynote speech at their annual conference, and the CEO called him personally to invite him.
Wow, okay. So a $40 million investment confirming an $80 million valuation and an invitation to keynote a major global conference, all announced audibly right after he's been disinherited for not being successful enough.
The timing is just perfect, almost scripted. Leo, the source says, calmly wraps up the call with Maya, arranges to meet her tomorrow, walks back to the table.
What happens then? Just silence.
The silence only breaks when Uncle Ben, bless him, just bursts out laughing, a genuine, delighted sound, and proposes a toast.
Oh, good for Uncle Ben. And the rest of the family shift. I can only imagine.
Instantaneous. Almost comical. His mother's voice immediately becomes honeyed, asking why he didn't tell him about his business success.
Oh, now it's a business success.
Right. His father's face, which was just clinical, turns to calculation, repeating $80 million.
Calculating his cut, probably.
And Clara, who literally minutes before scoffed that his company would fold, suddenly has this forced enthusiasm, declaring she always knew he was clever.
Ugh. It's almost sickeningly predictable, isn't it? Suddenly his unconventional choices aren't so bad now that they have an $80 million price tag attached. So how does Leo handle this whiplash?
His response is incredibly measured.
Yeah.
Blunt. When Clara knows she always knew he was clever, he just responds mildly, "Do you? That's not how I remember it." No yelling, just pointing out the hypocrisy.
Perfect. And his father, the master of traditional business, tries to pivot, right?
Immediately. Switches right into businessman mode. Suggests they revisit the decision to cut him off, calls it a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding.
As if the last 15 minutes hadn't happened exactly as they'd planned. But Leo doesn't let them reframe it. He says, flat out, it's not a misunderstanding.
Good.
He states that his circumstances haven't changed in the last 5 minutes. He's exactly the same person with exactly the same career that you were deeming unworthy of family support. It's powerful. Strips away their attempt to make it about the money rather than the value they ignored.
So powerful. What does his mother do?
Tries the smoothing over tactic. Don't be difficult, dear.
Oh, brother.
And Clara, ever direct, just cuts to the chase. How much are you worth?
There it is, the number.
Yep. And Leo gives them the precise figures. 55% ownership of the $80 million valuation. Over $40 million on paper. Expected to double that at minimum with the IPO.
$40 million. The number they understand, and the mother's reaction.
The source describes her immediately reaching for his hand, inviting him to celebrate at the club, dismissal forgotten the second the dollar signs appear.
But Leo pulls his hand away.
Gently, yeah. And he questions their sudden interest directly. Now that you know I'm rich, he says, that's different from support.
Boom. Mic drop.
Clara, maybe sensing the loss of their potential claim on his success, protests, "We're family. Family supports each other's success."
Oh, the irony. And his counter question.
Devastating. Does it? Where was that sentiment an hour ago? He's not being difficult. He's highlighting the totally conditional nature of their support.
So he decides to leave then.
Yep. He thanks them for the sudden interest. Just perfect phrasing under the circumstances. His mother, alarmed, reminds him about dessert, like a desperate attempt to cling to the formality.
But it's clear he's already checked out emotionally. He made his point, not with anger, but with undeniable fact.
Exactly. He calmly states he has his own advisors, now PR team, lawyers, every other professional service I need.
Setting boundaries.
Clearly. He acknowledges they are his family, explains why he kept coming back, despite knowing exactly what to expect, despite knowing that nothing I achieved would ever be enough for them. It's sad, really. A quiet affirmation of the pain their dismissal caused, even though he expected it.
And he offers Uncle Ben a ride, acknowledging the one person who showed him actual support.
As he's leaving, Clara makes one last attempt, calls after him about some gala, suddenly interested in discussing sustainable housing.
The topic that was eco-friendly dollhouses an hour ago, now suddenly relevant because it's attached to money.
Precisely. And Leo's final line as he pauses at the door,
What is it?
he politely says he'll check his schedule, but warns them his speaking fee starts at $40,000.
Yeah, perfect.
The source states he leaves them to digest the fact that its greatest current success was the son they had just disowned. It's just, a mic drop moment built on years of quiet determination and proof.
Wow. Okay, so the aftermath of that dinner, it really says a lot about where Leo stands now and what he prioritizes.
Yeah. The source details the weeks that followed. Leo basically maintains distance from the family's attempts to re-engage. Calls go to voicemail, invites get polite declinations.
Clara trying to be his new best friend.
Met with silence. The only family relationship he actively nurtures, Uncle Ben, predictably.
He's setting clear boundaries, making it obvious their sudden interest doesn't just erase years of dismissal. And meanwhile, Terraform Living keeps climbing.
Absolutely. The IPO is successful, exceeds projections. Company valued at $80 million first day, pushing Leo's paper worth past $90 million. The market validates his vision, his work on a massive scale.
And he makes a pretty powerful statement about legacy too, right, with the foundation.
He does. Establishes the Thorn Innovation Foundation, a $5 million fund specifically for young innovators in sustainable tech. And the name, incredibly deliberate.
Thorn Innovation Foundation, it's named after him.
Precisely. The source emphasizes he was reclaiming the Thorn legacy on his own terms. When reporters ask if it's named after his family, he just replies, "It's named after me." He's redefined what Thorn can mean. Not just steel and glass, but sustainable innovation, social impact.
That's huge. How does his relationship with the rest of the family evolve after all this? Does it?
The source says it becomes more measured and controlled. He doesn't cut them off entirely, interestingly, but he controls the terms.
How so?
He attends Christmas, for instance, but limits his time, brings Maya, his COO, as kind of a buffer. He's engaging, but on his terms now, with backup.
Smart. And his father.
Yeah.
Does he ever really acknowledge what happened or what Leo built?
Yes, actually. The source mentions a significant moment where his father visits the Terraform Living offices. He's clearly surprised by the scale, the reality of it, admits it wasn't what he imagined.
What did he say?
Something smaller, less significant. And he even admits, "You've proven me wrong. That doesn't happen often."
Wow. That must have been something to hear. And Leo's response. It really sums up his whole journey, doesn't it?
It really does. He doesn't gloat, doesn't rub it in. He simply says, it wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about building something that mattered. It wasn't about revenge or seeking their validation. It was about the intrinsic value of the work itself.
Which brings us to the present, or at least about a year after that infamous dinner. The source describes a gathering at Leo's new loft.
Yeah, and it's a powerful image. It's a mix of people. His original team, his mentors, and his biological family is there too.
Interesting mix.
The source says he feels this profound sense of peace looking at this diverse group, his chosen family alongside his biological one.
And his toast at this gathering. It really encapsulates the core lesson of his story.
It's a beautiful summary. He toasts to authentic success.
Authentic success.
Not measured by bank accounts or social standing, but by the lives we touch and the problems we solve. He continues, to surrounding ourselves with people who believe in us before we're successful, not after, and to defining our own legacy, whatever our last name might be. It's just a powerful declaration of self-worth and redefined value.
Looking back, the source says he reflects on his family's initial rejection. He doesn't just see it as negative.
No, interestingly, he acknowledges it was painful, of course, but also formative. It forced him to rely on himself, built his resilience, solidified his conviction in his own path. It kind of pushed him off their predetermined cliff and forced him to build his own wings, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And the final thought the source leaves us with is incredibly impactful.
It really is. Sometimes, the source concludes, the most powerful reply to "we're cutting you off completely" isn't an argument or a defense. It's building something so meaningful that it speaks for itself.
So wrapping this up, what does this deep dive into Leo's story really mean for you listening? His experience is such a powerful illustration of how external validation, even from family, can often be really conditional.
Yeah, conditional. Tied to very specific, sometimes very narrow metrics of success that just might not be your own metrics.
It really challenges us, I think, to think critically about how we measure success in our own lives. Are you chasing a definition someone else handed you? Traditional wealth, prestige, whatever it is.
Or are you measuring your success by the impact you make, the authenticity of your path, the problems you're actually solving?
And it raises that important, maybe slightly uncomfortable question. How much of your own unique potential, your own different vision, are you maybe holding back or downplaying?
Because you're worried it doesn't fit someone else's idea of what you should be doing or who you should be.
Consider this. Leo's most significant act wasn't just building an $80 million company. That's amazing, obviously.
But it was defining success entirely on his own terms, building a community of people who believed in him before the $80 million valuation when his own family didn't.
And ultimately reclaiming his own name, his own legacy, by building something that truly mattered to him.
So the final thought for you to chew on. What would it look like for you to build something that speaks for itself?